The concept of the devil has long held a captivating role within Judeo-Christian beliefs. Regarded as a supremely powerful entity, often ranking second only to God, the devil's significance is evident. Even within the Gospels, Jesus makes reference to the devil as the prince of this world. An intriguing episode recounted in Scripture involves Jesus fasting in the desert, where the devil made an audacious offer. The devil asserted that he could bestow upon Jesus all the authority and magnificence that humanity possessed, declaring, "I have the power to grant it to whomever I choose." The condition was clear: if Jesus were to worship the devil, this dominion would be his. However, resolute in his purpose, Jesus steadfastly declined the temptation. Yet, throughout history, it has been purported that subsequent individuals have yielded to this seductive proposition, striking their own deals with the devil. Born as Gerbert of Aurillac, Pope Sylvester II lived in a time well before the Renaissance, with his birth in 946 and passing in 1003. He possessed a scholarly spirit that could be likened to a humanist, although the term didn't exist then. His intellect was vast, with a deep knowledge of classical literature and an early endorsement of the Hindu-Arabic numerals that we now commonly use, which was groundbreaking in a Europe lacking a mathematical writing system. Among his scholarly achievements, he's renowned for reintroducing the abacus, an ancient calculating tool predating written numerals, to Europe. Moreover, he's credited with creating a hydraulic-powered brass organ, considered a marvel surpassing all previous musical instruments of its time. Gerbert was celebrated as one of the foremost scientists of his era. However, amidst his scholarly acclaim, there were whispers and beliefs that he practiced sorcery, possibly gaining occult knowledge during his time in the Iberian Islamic kingdom of Al-Andalus. In the 10th and 11th centuries, Al-Andalus was a beacon of enlightenment and prosperity in continental Europe, hosting knowledge from the extensive Islamic world and ancient philosophers. To the Christian powers elsewhere in Europe, this Arabic kingdom appeared exotic and potentially threatening. Nevertheless, some Europeans, regardless of their faith, acknowledged Al-Andalus as the only place for a genuine education. In the Christian monastery in Vic, Catalonia, numerous works from this enlightened kingdom were imported, exposing Gerbert to Arabic culture. This marked the beginning of his journeys through Muslim lands in pursuit of knowledge that would make him renowned. Many tales of Gerbert's brilliance circulated during and after his lifetime. In the 12th century, the English monk historian William of Malmesbury claimed that Gerbert had obtained a book of spells from an Arabic philosopher during his time in Al-Andalus. This book supposedly contained the knowledge to control the devil. According to Malmesbury, the philosopher cherished this book, even sleeping with it under his pillow to safeguard it. Gerbert, however, was determined to acquire this tome. He seduced the philosopher's daughter to learn of its location, then took advantage of the philosopher's inebriation to steal it. Despite the philosopher's ability to track all things on earth or water, Gerbert managed to evade him by hanging off a wooden bridge, touching neither earth nor water. With the book in his possession, legend has it that Gerbert contacted demons and made a pact with the devil. This is the folklore surrounding Gerbert's ascension to the papal throne. The legend includes a condition to Gerbert's diabolical agreement: if he ever attended Mass in Jerusalem, the devil would come to claim him. Knowing this, Pope Sylvester II skillfully avoided any offers of pilgrimage to Jerusalem. With this issue seemingly resolved, he indulged in the luxuries offered by his office. However, Sylvester's wisdom should have alerted him to the complexity of bargaining with the devil. One day, while attending Mass in a church in Rome, which he belatedly discovered was named the Holy Cross of Jerusalem, he realized his fate was sealed. Shortly after, he fell gravely ill. In an alternate version of the legend, the devil himself arrived with a horde of demons to take Sylvester. The Pope met a gruesome end in front of a congregation, with his gouged-out eyeballs becoming playthings for Satan's minions. In both versions, the devil's price was ultimately paid. To this day, it is said that Pope Sylvester's bones are cursed, allegedly rattling in his tomb whenever a pope is nearing death. One of the most influential blues artists from the early 20th century was Tommy Johnson. He was a significant figure in the Delta blues movement, named after the Mississippi Delta region in the United States where it originated. This genre also carried the ominous moniker of the Devil's Blues, as many believed it had a strong connection to the supernatural. Some even speculated that musicians like Robert Johnson, unrelated to Tommy, had made a pact with the devil to attain their remarkable guitar skills, while some credit Robert Johnson with the legend of trading one's soul for musical prowess. Tom Graves, a biographer, argued in 2008 that this tale actually started with Tommy Johnson and was later associated with Robert. Tommy, with his turbulent life and struggles with alcoholism, seemed like the archetype for such a dark bargain. Despite his personal troubles, Tommy achieved some commercial success in his lifetime, including hits like Canned Heat Blues, a song about consuming methanol from sterno cooking fuel. His live performances were legendary, inspiring the flamboyant antics of future rock and roll artists. He was known for playing the guitar in unconventional ways, including behind his back, between his legs, and even in mid-air. Besides his guitar skills, Tommy possessed an extraordinary and unique vocal range that was nearly impossible for others to replicate. This led many to believe that his exceptional talents were a gift from the devil. This notion gained even more traction when Tommy himself seemed to confirm it. After Tommy's passing in 1966, his brother, Liddell Johnson, revealed in an interview with Tommy's biographer, David Evans, that Tommy had confessed to making a pact with Satan. Furthermore, Tommy allegedly described how anyone could make such a sinister bargain. Now, if Tommy were alive today, he'd tell you. He said the reason he knew so much was because he sold himself to the devil. I asked him how, and he said, if you want to learn how to play anything, if you want to create your own songs, take your guitar and go to a crossroads, get there a little before midnight. Play a piece by yourself, and a tall, dark man will appear, take your guitar, tune it, play a song, and return it to you. That's how I learned to play anything I wanted. Liddell Johnson, who had also been a blues musician, occasionally performed alongside his brother. In his later years, he turned to the church and became a devout believer, echoing the sentiments of many in the region who saw blues music as the handiwork of the devil. Though Tommy left behind only a limited number of recorded tracks, they are considered masterpieces, and his original vinyl records have become highly prized collector's items. In 2013, one of his singles was sold on eBay for over $37,000, setting a record for the most expensive 78 RPM record ever sold at that time. It appears that, at least in Tommy Johnson's case, the devil seemingly honored his end of the alleged pact. In 1589, King James VI of Scotland, later known as James I of England, was preparing to marry Princess Anne of Denmark. During her journey to Scotland, a fierce storm arose, forcing her and her companions to seek refuge in Norway. Although James and Anne eventually married, the tempest was attributed to malevolent witches who were believed to be trying to disrupt their royal union. Consequently, extensive investigations were initiated against suspected sorcerers in both Denmark and Scotland for a period of 2 years. King James himself oversaw some of the interrogations and tortures. One of the individuals accused of witchcraft was Dr. John Fian, who also went by the name Cunningham. He was identified with the help of someone else who confessed to practicing witchcraft. Initially, Fian remained silent, but he eventually began to speak after enduring a mild form of torture, involving a rope being used to strike his head. However, his confession did not satisfy his tormentors. Subsequently, they resorted to a method known as the boots, which King James described as an extremely cruel form of torture. Despite this intense suffering, Fian remained steadfast and refused to admit to witchcraft. This led to a thorough examination of his body, during which 2 pine needles were discovered under his tongue, believed to be a spell preventing him from confessing under duress. After the removal of the needles, Fian confessed to everything. He claimed that he had made a pact with the devil long ago, and his soul belonged to the devil. He asserted that he had gained his witchcraft powers by serving the devil. Among his alleged abilities was the power to bewitch a man, causing him to go into fits of madness. One such incident was recounted in King James's book, Demonology, where a man brought before the king's presence displayed strange and uncontrollable behavior, seemingly under Fian's influence. Fian continued to share tales of his supposed malevolent witchcraft, which were corroborated by witnesses in court. Eventually, he promised to renounce his wicked ways. He described an encounter with the devil the night before, during which the devil tried to persuade him to uphold their pact. Fian claimed to have rebuked the devil, saying, "I utterly forsake thee." According to Fian, the devil broke a white wand and foretold, "Once before you die, you shall be mine." Shortly after this incident, Fian managed to escape from his captors by stealing the jailer's keys. However, his freedom was short-lived, as he was recaptured by the king's men and subjected to further brutal tortures. Despite enduring excruciating pain, Fian confessed to nothing, even after his feet were severely damaged. When it became clear that no further information could be extracted from him, Fian was executed. In the 17th century, the Dutch had a relentless pursuit of speed. Their empire extended globally, boasting colonies on nearly every major continent. One of their most profitable colonies was Batavia, present-day Jakarta, where a thriving spice trade flourished. Spices were prized not just for their culinary uses but also for masking unpleasant odors and as medicinal ingredients. The Dutch amassed substantial wealth through this spice trade, although they faced fierce competition from Portuguese and English merchants. To maintain their dominance, they needed to discover the quickest routes and enlist skilled captains. At the start of the century, a voyage from the Netherlands to Indonesia took approximately a year. However, in 1678, Captain Bernard Fock completed this journey in just over 3 months. Notably, there was no Suez Canal at that time, meaning he had to navigate around a significant portion of Europe, traverse the entire African continent, and cross the vast Indian Ocean in a cumbersome wooden vessel. Accomplishing this remarkable feat, such swiftness was rarely surpassed until much later periods, making it almost unbelievable for the 17th century. Nevertheless, the dates on the letters delivered by the captain confirmed the expedition's duration. Following this extraordinary achievement, unsettling tales began to circulate about Captain Fock, portraying him as a stern leader who subjected his crew to hardship. More ominous still were allegations of diabolical dealings. It was rumored that Fock had bartered his soul with the devil to become the world's fastest sailor. Supposedly, in exchange for his soul, the devil transformed the ship's masts from wood to iron, enabling it to change sails even during the fiercest storms, a feat nearly impossible with wooden masts. With the presumed aid of the devil and his unwavering leadership, Fock executed one of the swiftest voyages of his era. In the centuries that followed, some have suggested that Fock served as the inspiration for the legend of the infamous ghost ship, the Flying Dutchman. According to this lore, the swift captain later fell under the devil's control, condemned to sail the world's oceans eternally under the devil's command. On August 29, 1677, an incident unfolded in Paderborn, Austria that would later become a notable tale. Christoph Hazeman, while laboring in a small castle, was discovered in the midst of violent convulsions. Authorities, entrenched in the era of rampant witch hunts, initially suspected him of witchcraft, possibly labeling him a witch himself. However, the story took an unexpected turn when Hazeman shared his account. He vehemently asserted that he was not under any bewitchment but rather, had entered into a pact with the devil, subsequently becoming possessed by demonic forces. His narrative hinged on an encounter with the devil 9 years prior when he was a destitute painter. Hazeman claimed that the devil had persistently tempted him with promises of wealth, power, and companionship, ultimately swaying him on the 9th temptation. The catalyst for his agreement was the devil's assurance of curing Hazeman's deep-seated depression, stemming from the recent loss of his father. Supposedly, 2 contracts were forged during this ominous deal-making, one in ink and the other in blood. In exchange, Hazeman committed to surrendering himself, body and soul, to the devil on the 24th of September, 9 years hence. At the time of his arrest, this deadline loomed just a few weeks away. When local Catholic priest Leopold Braun learned of Hazeman's plight, he took compassion on the tormented man and reached out for assistance from a nearby abbey. The monks there took Hazeman under their care, embarking on rigorous exorcisms to free him from the demonic grip. Hazeman, desperate for redemption, complied diligently with their instructions. Yet, on the midnight of September 8, a startling encounter unfolded as he claimed to have faced the devil once more. In the throes of agony, Hazeman managed to break free and seek refuge in the chapel. He returned clutching a piece of paper, asserting that it was the blood-ridden contract from years past, which he had snatched from the devil's grasp in the form of a winged dragon. This act was heralded as a miracle by the monastery. However, this respite was fleeting. By October 11, Hazeman's convulsions had returned with a vengeance, occasionally rendering him completely paralyzed. During these episodes, he described torment not only from the devil but also from the Virgin Mary and Christ. The devil persisted with his customary temptations, while Christ and Mary implored him to renounce worldly possessions and embrace a life devoted to God. Another series of exorcisms ensued, during which Hazeman received the ink-written pact from the devil. Subsequently, he sought refuge in a monastery and embraced a monastic life. There, he created numerous artworks depicting the devil in various forms, including an elaborate piece where he depicted the Virgin Mary aiding him in retrieving the ink-written pact from the devil. Nonetheless, Hazeman's torment endured until his death in 1700. He passed away, peaceful and of good comfort, marking the end of a remarkable and harrowing chapter in his life.